Good evening, beautiful people.
We relatively on time today.
We relatively on time. We get 5 minute grace period. It's Cody.
Anybody that been to a live show and know nothing starts on time.
Sometimes it be 20, 30 minutes late.
What?
But nah, we're not saying that as an excuse to be late. We were trying to be on time. But I'm not gonna blame technology.
It was the drinks. They too nice.
Blame it on the I can finish that.
Alcohol. But nah, thank everybody for joining us again today. Today we're going to be talking about the attention economy. And we are going to have a nice discussion as we always do. But before we get started, what I want everybody to do, if you are watching us, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, hit the like button and hit the share button, so that we can have more people joining in the conversation. And then my good friend Daquan over here, Quan the Poet, is going to drop the link for people to be able to call in to join the discussion. I just ask that you turn on your camera so that we can get around Zoom bombs and all of that kind of crazy stuff. And so again, little last bit of house cleaning. Go check out the website, the Gilded Sages. I did not forget about putting the reaction video to the HR 40 hearing up. But I think the video file was a little bit too big, so I'm working on how to upload that. But that should be done by tomorrow at the latest. Might have to chop it up a little bit, but that will be there. Check out the actual HR 40 video, eavesdrop video, and not the reaction video to the actual hearing on YouTube when you get a chance. Don't leave now. Do that later. Because today we're going to be talking about, again, the attention economy. I posted an article about last week to my Facebook from the New Yorker that we'll go over today, and then we'll talk a little bit about the movie Fake Famous. And I just want to have a robust discussion around how the pros and the cons of the attention economy, how it is weaponized, and just some different things that people should take caution to. So before we get started, again, go ahead, hit the like button, hit the share button, and again, comment, because we wanted to have a robust discussion. If you want some questions answered, drop those too. I'm all for questions, but I love smoke more than anything.
More importantly, the questions we get in our forum on the website as well at thegildedsages.com. Your questions are not just limited to this YouTube and not just limited to Saturdays. We would love to begin to we have some subscribers to the site. We would love to begin to have robust discussions on the site where we can be more involved with our Gilded Sages community, and more importantly, we can have deeper dives on these discussions from different perspectives.
Not be censored by social media, which we'll be talking about.
Ooh. Go. Somebody just came up with the clause.
But without further ado, we're going to jump right straight into it, and we're going to get into the first article or first piece of reading of tonight, which is just going to be the article that I was telling you. Oh, no, it's not that one. Fake Famous. Yes, it's this one from the New Yorker by Naomi Fry, February 2021. And so I just wanted to jump down here. I'm not sure if everybody is familiar with the movie documentary. Go check it out on Facebook. I mean, not Facebook, HBO Max. It's an interesting.
Sponsor us, HBO Max. We don't want to be fake famous. We just want to talk shit
to you.
Exactly. It's not Curb Your Enthusiasm. We're gonna bring the enthusiasm.
Oh yes.
Just from a hood perspective.
So what you're looking at right now, working a menial job is hard, but Fake Famous demonstrates that being an influencer too can be a tedious kind of labor. In one amusing sequence, Bilton takes us behind the scenes of a photo shoot in which Dominique and Wiley are shown partaking in one 1% like activities such as sipping champagne and eating chocolates, poolside at the Four Seasons, relaxing blissfully on an international flight, and receiving a luxurious spa treatment. All of this, however, is smoke and mirrors. In the pictures, which are shot in quick succession at a single location, the toilet seat held aloft mimics a plane's window. The champagne is apple juice. The chocolates are pats of butter dipped in cocoa powder, and the rose petal infused spa basin is plastic kiddie pool. Jump down a little bit more. Most influencers, Bilton tells us, even reportedly mega successful ones like Kim Kardashian, have expedited their climb to the top of the social media pyramid by purchasing followers in order to inflate their engagement metrics in the best. It's in the best interest of social media companies and their Wall Street investors to turn a blind eye to this practice. Bilton explains, as wearing stacks of $100 bills flash on the screen because these puffed up numbers equal increased proceeds. And so what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna stop there because I wanted to talk about that part more importantly because that's the note that I took from when I had watched the actual movie, which I think is pivotal in terms of how the attention economy is on a collision with the gig economy and how it is undermining, it's another component of undermining labor and access to wages, relevant wages to living. And so if you watch the movie or the documentary, what you'll see is that in this, you have is basically a staged experiment where this one or group of people throw out a casting call to solicit and get people who want to participate in quote unquote being famous. And so they take and they basically, the experiment is to see if I can make you famous through being fake famous, the act of perpetuating a particular life or trying to show a particular life to eventually lead to that life. As a whole, make it. Exactly, the epitome of it. And so throughout that though, what you see and what you hear is how you have a whole industry of people who make bots. And these are user or fake users that increase your engagement through social media. And you see through that when it comes to the stock market and it comes to investment dollars and it comes to, you know, the welfare of the companies, this, which should be frowned upon behavior, is rewarded because it makes the platform get extra hits, extra ads, extra dollars, and it shows engagement. The issue with that is, for me, is that I don't think people understand or are linking that with our political problems as it relates to, again, we saw minimum wage debacle today. What you have is a situation where the corporations who have like a heavy influence on our political infrastructure are being bolstered up through influencer culture. And what you see and what you'll see throughout the documentary is that these people don't necessarily have any access to anything outside of digital engagements. But before I continue on, I just want to hear like your thoughts in particular on the movie or how you feel, because I'm gonna give people the, you know, definition of attention economy, but just what did you think about the movie per se?
Fake Famous for me is a docudrama. It's not what I would potentially pretend as a documentary. It is more dramatized than sensationalism. It is HBO's Max response to Netflix's social drama. I mean, social media, social drama, same thing to me. But the documentary overall, it really makes me call into question what we call economy these days. Because an economy, I think, is something productive. I think there's something being produced. Fake famous, they kind of dip their toe into the suicide rates caused by social media. They dip their toe into the negative parts of social media. But most of the documentary was really about sitting around those three characters that they created to see how people can fake their ways into a new life. And when I watched it, I laughed because I half watched it because it was nothing really to watch. It really is people taking old tricks from old Hollywood and it's now becoming public. We have vaudeville and vaudevillians pretending that they really are notable people with notable crafts. And what I can give the documentarians respect for is that they had some experts, not many, most of them were industry people. Some experts come in and talk about how negative and how fake and contrived and boring not only those three people, but also the celebrities. And then we also had the thing where influencers came out, I forgot what publication it was, where we had over $500 million in fraud. So for me, this really showed me that there are a lot of people out there who really think that fame comes from people knowing your name and not from doing something that a lot of other people just cannot do. A lot of other people cannot dunk like LeBron James. There's a lot of people who cannot write like Dr. Cornel West. There's not a lot of people who can deliver a speech like Attorney Michelle Alexander, or write things like Michelle Alexander. You can tell I'm a nerd and I'm academic, so I have my biases on what I think is famous and important. But this, to your point about the economy of the politics, if Kamala Harris is getting away with, and she got away with wearing sneakers and wearing designer boots, what Timberland really is now, as a way of saying that I am going to write policy in your favor, then we are living in a world in which people don't want the truth. You don't want the truth. In Jack Nicholson's words, you can't handle the truth. Because you literally, look, I'm so serious, you have so many people right here who will watch that documentary and use it as a blueprint. Watch the documentary and use the documentary as a blueprint to go out and do the exact same things that they did, because it doesn't matter that the truth has been exposed. What matters is that they get to live the life. That is all that matters. So I'm really deflated by the documentary. And I'm deflated in the sense of, I don't know what it's going to take for the large American pop culture populace to understand that I'm sick of brunch. I'm sick of the protest. They're not real. That's another part of the famous thing with the protest. Mm-hmm. The Pepsi Cola commercial with the Jenner was really how America really is, because a lot of people go to protest, they go to brunch. That's why they're tied together. I watched this and I really got tired of body image issues. And why I'm tired of body image issues is because what gets the likes are the traditional European beauty standards. And then we have this morphism where we think that every woman is supposed to look like the statue of Venus. Small waist, huge hips, huge busts. Is like, that's not how, very few women actually fit that naturally. And so we have a whole business catered around getting women to fit inside of this image of what women are supposed to look like on social media, that they take these beauty pills and they take all these other different things, and it feeds this whole cycle, this whole visual cycle of images being generated for the sake of attention, for the sake of money, rather than us appealing to our leadership in the nation for us to actually have wages so that we can take pictures of Instagram without having to go out there and have a bunch of goddamn likes. That's what I feel about fake famous. It really exposes the American attention span is more about being liked, and it's more about being is more about self-aggrandizing than it is about actually getting anything done. Because I'm really skeptical about saying attention economy because it's not an economy.
All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna segue into another article that defines and talks about where the term comes from.
Cool.
So that everybody in the audience knows that this is not just something that I'm saying. So this is from Berkeley Economic Review, paying attention to attention economy, published March 31, 2020. And it says economics, again, is the study of how scarce resources are allocated, whether that is housing, food, or money. However, in an era of endless amounts of information at the hands of our fingertips, what is the scarcity? Unlike the first three examples that can be empirically quantified and measured, our tangible yet extremely valuable attention is the limiting factor. We are in the age of the attention economy. The American Psychological Association defines attention as the state in which cognitive resources are focused on aspects of the environment rather than on others. Attention comes in many forms: love, recognition, obedience, and help. Although theoretically unquantifiable, many derive attention's value from how much time we focus on a particular thing. We face attention scarcity every day. While paying attention to one thing, we ignore others. Similar to money, we exchange attention. You are reading this article right now and probably ignoring other work you have to do so. The term attention economy was coined by psychologist, economist, and Nobel laureate Herbert A. Simon, who posited that attention was the bottleneck of human thought that limits both what we can perceive in stimulating environments and what we can do. He also noted that a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. And I'm gonna just say that again. A wealth of information creates a poverty of attention, suggesting that multitasking is a myth. And I'm just gonna stop there because we have discussed how multitasking is a myth. And I understand where you're coming from in terms of not wanting to dub it as an economy because it, in a lot of ways, validates, unfortunately, it can possibly further perpetuate its existence.
Because it gives value.
And so I do
Tangible
understand
value.
that. And I'll take it out of the hands of us and just as in what is.
For the sake of the argument.
Yeah, for the sake, and not even for the sake of the argument, but just because the reality is that we are not of the majority in terms of how we navigate, but the economy and the lifestyle and all of these things are in place and exist because people do, one, believe in multitasking, two, don't understand how their attention is scarce and how their attention is limited. I always talk about how the way that you cripple, and this is a solution that I have posed, is that, look, what we'll get into later is, about algorithms and surveillance capitalism as how this all relates to being on an infrastructure that is already weaponized against us and taking advantage and undermining wage, because we'll get into more articles. But the thing with that is that people engage it. They do give away their attention. You have people, again, like he said, on one hand, people want policy. On one hand, like you just mentioned, people want particular things from the political infrastructure. But their attention is on conversations around the shade room, versus battles, BuzzFeed, and all of these other things.
NBA,
and what you'll often hear from people is that we can walk and chew bubblegum. But the problem is we've been trying to walk and chew bubblegum and we haven't learned how to walk. So what I have always posed as a solution is that we have to manipulate our focus, because what the attention economy does is it commodifies the attention. It makes it a transactional thing in terms of placing it into everything else that is capitalism. It is now being put into that field of play. So now, instead of sometimes what we'll get into later and giving you cash, I'm going to pay you in attention. And that is, I agree, the dangerous slope of what you're saying about validating it. But you have, unfortunately, influencers, what the movie also talked about is that they're dubbed as influencers, but they don't really influence anything. And so let me ask you this, from hearing what you just heard from that article, the one from Berkeley, what would be your response to that, given that you didn't necessarily want to validate it as a economy?
Okay, if we want to say the attention economy is a valuable thing, okay, I'm gonna say the attention economy is a valuable thing. Nobel laureate, he won. They won. I don't know who it was. Who knows?
Push back.
I'm about to, but when you got, especially with these quote unquote rainbow elites that the Dems are, they love their institutions.
This is true.
You got to capitulate to the argument, then combat the argument, and push it to the extreme to show that it is illogical.
I pulled the Berkeley one up for a reason.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So it's illogical in the sense of you can't eat attention. It's illogical in the sense of data is digital, but data cannot be eaten. It's illogical in the sense of we are not robots. We need food. We need water. We need actual people with actual wages producing things. A person influencing me to buy something is a marketer. Let's stop calling salespeople influencers. You're a salesperson. You're a sales associate. You do sales. You're not an influencer. You do sales. I'm going to say it again. You do sales. You do sales. Because it's important to recognize that your attention is data. Your data is what they use to sell you on things. And if you're not paying for it, then you're the thing being sold.
Hold on. So you telling me that, one, I shouldn't be out here trying to get a like so I can pivot and maneuver? Is that what you're telling me?
What are you getting liked for? No one cares.
What about my endorsements?
Your endorsements, how much do they make out of your, what you call it? Because you're not really getting endorsements. What do you get endorsements from?
I get free stuff, nigga.
Okay, can you eat it?
No, but I'm lit.
Can you pawn it?
No.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, if you can pawn it, how long is that? If you pawn it, right?
She got some jewelry on Fake Famous.
Then she got some jewelry. Let's say, because most of this jewelry is cheap because it's coming from boutiques that's trying to get out there. Now, let's say you pawn it, right? Let's say you pawn it for $2,400. Let's say you pawn it for $2,400 on top of the buying bucks.
Mm-hmm.
So you got what, $3,800? How long is that $3,800 going to last you? And let's say you're in a situation in which you don't have to pay rent. We ain't gotta pay no rent. We ain't gotta do nothing. How long is that $3,800 going to last you? Hypothetically speaking, because I want people to really understand that attention is not money.
And to your point, not to cut you off,
Go ahead, cut me off.
they talked about how
It's not money.
you have to pretty much be poor, and not poor, but it's an expense in producing the content, and that expense isn't also always rewarded with, like you said, actual money. And so the attention becomes kind of disrespectful, which we gonna go.
So what am I doing? Am I bartering in the attention economy? So I gotta barter. I gotta say, you know what, Slim? I got this iPhone 12 Max Pro, my nigga. I know you got that 11 right there. So if you had this, you got a better camera, and it's gonna give you more attention. Because with better cameras, you get better frames. And with better frames, that means you can edit it more filters, and you get more attention. anyone who's an actual hustler is going to sell that goddamn phone to that person, give them the phone for money, because everyone doesn't value everything the same. However, with money, I can go in, as long as I can barter a price, I have the federal government behind me that says this is legal tender. You have to accept my legal tender. I don't have to accept your attention as a payment. So fuck you. It's that simple. I know YouTube, I really need to drive this home. It's not an economy. I don't care. You cannot tell me it's an economy when people are literally starving all over this nation. For attention. You want attention? Your problem is you want self-esteem.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going there. You don't want attention. You want to like yourself, but you want to like yourself in the eyes of other people. You don't want attention.
Hold up, this is a business.
It's not a business. It's not a business. It's not a business. If it's a business, it's some pimping hoe shit. The influencers are really the hoes. Who is the pimp? Facebook. Who's the pimp? TikTok. Because they're the ones getting actual money. The people on Wall Street invested in them are getting actual money to buy things that the influencers want.
Or influencing your politicians to not give you policy.
What?
Zinger.
What we're going to do is we're going to go into an example of what you're talking about, kind sir.
Oh, I
So
know.
why Tiffany Haddish turned down hosting the Grammys pre-telecast? I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with what went on, but Tiffany Haddish basically got offered attention and she turned it down. But we're going to read a quick little part of this article. Not only did they ask Haddish to host a 3-hour live stream event without any compensation, but she tells Variety that they wouldn't cover hair, makeup, or wardrobe for the 3-hour event. All of that would have to come out of my pocket, she said, adding, I don't know if this might mean I might not get nominated ever again, but I think it's disrespectful. Jump it down a little bit more. I was like, the exposure is amazing, but I think I have enough. Tiffany Haddish. I appreciate you guys for asking, Haddish said. And as much as I appreciate the honor of being nominated, that's not okay. And so what we have here is institutions now offering, like you said, people payment in the form of attention. In this case, Tiffany Haddish is already famous. So now we have basically what, people kind of doing for internships, unpaid internships.
I'm the king of that shit.
I'm just going to give you, quote unquote, potential opportunity into the future. And that's what that means. And I don't think a lot of people, or I'm not going to say that. What I would like for people to understand is that when, like you said, you validate this ecosystem, this economy, and perpetuate it, you have other institutions that are over top and that have already cornered particular markets, such as Silicon Valley, in which we're talking about here specifically. But you have others, whether it be media conglomerates, whether it be anybody for that matter. They will begin to say, well, look, especially during COVID, all of these drawbacks, as we see the economy is stalling and potentially going to go into a decrease very soon, you'll see a lot more of offering attention for form of payment, which I agree with her is disrespectful, but to her, I think she played herself in the situation because she got on Monique about that and sided with Netflix in that whole ordeal, and not understanding that she would give these larger companies leverage to be able to do the same thing that they just did to her. I think the attention economy and the gig economy is coming to a collide. And what I mean by that is you have the gig economy that was, kudos to the UK, push back on it and put some measures in place to regulate the gig economy, which is your Ubers, your Lyfts, your DoorDash, your doggy walking, or whatever thing that basically you are a worker under an umbrella, but you are classified as a
1099 independent contractor.
A serf.
a serf.
Yes.
A serf. And the issue with that is you don't have access to benefits, resources, and you really don't. If you listen to a lot of the people who drive like Uber, you know, they have videos and they've been like pushing back and things like that, is that you also don't have stability in that. Because again, on the other side of these things is that society, as much as people don't want to admit it, people are getting poorer by the day.
Poverty is in the suburbs, white suburbs, which was designed not to have poverty, to get away from poverty, which was Black, brown, and Native American, or indigenous is the
I would
most
appreciate if you don't say brown.
common term.
Just call them what they are. Latinos.
Latino, South Asian. When I say South Asian, that means Indian, Pakistani. That means Bengali. That means I love.
Claim your heritage.
Shout out to my Bengali people. That means Mexican. That means Puerto Rican. That's the problem with saying freaking brown. That's a problem. That's a problem with saying black. The problem is that you're making everything comfortable for white people to understand, so they don't have to learn about other people.
Exactly.
Precisely.
And it's time for them to learn about other people because the West.
Yeah. We at your doorstep.
Not even to be at the doorstep. There is no longer an isolated hegemonic world. It's no longer possible. I love life and I love time in a sense, but before I go on that, I would like for you to finish your point. About the gig economy pushback, because the European Commission has been pushing tech for a long time, especially taxing tech.
Yeah, but in this case, when you have, you know, all of our institutions being co-opted, like I said, from media conglomerates, Silicon Valley, where that are front facing, the issue becomes where if it's about attention, CNN can say, you know what, I'm not going to pay you for an appearance, Quentin or Cornel West. I'm going to just offer you views on our platform. And what that does is it allows people who have already cornered that market and are already at the top of that hierarchy to stifle competition.
Yes, but again, because my whole point going to that time,
which erodes democracy. Y'all love to say that, but that erodes democracy.
What I was really getting at is that I love how time really shows you how one thought plays out in its complexity and it comes back full circle. So with the West deciding that, when I mean the West, I mean Western Europe and America, or Anglo-American capitalism, deciding that it was best to use World War II, Cold War technology to build applications for the internet after it was an intranet, and creating devices that spy on us all the time. I don't care. I have nothing in particular that I need or want to hide. And more importantly, I know how to say no to things I actually want. I know how to go, I want that, but it's not healthy for me. And that's going to be very important in this economy because, and I mean this actual economy where you need infrastructure, where people getting paid, you need doctors, nurses, lawyers, firefighters, because it seems like you can't do your job unless the public, the information officer from the fire department is there, or the police officer is there. It's like everyone putting the camera at people, but I want to say this, the average person needs a shh. Don't call me a gatekeeper when you are trafficking in my lane. And what I mean by you're trafficking in my lane is like, I do this. I do English. I study the English language. I study literature, and I study all these different things. If I'm telling you and I have empirical evidence about something, I'm not gatekeeping. I'm being an editor. And a lot of the things that is coming out of the Democratic blue wave that was trash and still is trash is Biden's not giving you what you want. Harris is not giving you what you need. None of them is giving you what you want and you need. It came out gatekeeping. That came out there. Then the whole PC, all of that stuff. You're taking these things to the extreme to the point they no longer function. They don't function. Why do I have to listen to someone who's just catchy for the next week? You're catchy. You're not giving me anything of substance or anything of value that I can use in my own day-to-day life. So you're not going to value knowledge and information that gives you something to move forward, but you're going to value something that makes you laugh for 5 minutes, but you feel depressed for the next hour. Because the Pure Research Center will show you how social media is so damaging and how many hours people spend on it. Like on average, a person is productive at work 3.5 hours, right? So out of an 8-hour day, 3.5 hours. But a lot of that is spent on social media. And then you get upset, and we talk about, well, people have anxiety issues, they have depression, they have all of these other things, and they need medicine. If I was inside a big pharma, I'd be happy because that means you're buying my products. However, not being inside a big pharma and also being a person who is really aware of how images play upon the community standards and how communities build based upon images, I am terrified of generations being raised on an image is reality because it's so easy to think an image. One of my favorite paintings is The Tyranny of Images. This is not a pipe. When literally it's a painted pipe, but in French it says this is not a pipe. It really isn't a pipe. It is an image of a pipe. And so you got to get people to understand cognitively that these things are tools that you as the human use to an aim instead of giving away your cognitive ability to the tool. People give away their cognitive ability to the app. And that's why apps got to have so many different goddamn warnings. If you wake up in the morning without an app, then the app isn't what governs you. You are governing yourself through the app and you blaming the app for your problems. And this is where I'm getting absolutely livid with the ongoing conversations I have with people because accountability doesn't exist. It's being deflected here, it's being deflected there, it's being deflected here, but everyone is talking about self-care. Everyone is talking about healing. It's like, I'm tired of the performative. Do the work. If you are healing, you're not talking about it because healing is some nasty, disgusting things that you reveal about yourself to yourself. And you saw inside of tying it all together, you saw inside of fake things how when you're on the other side of the experience, you see how it knocks you off. Same thing with Tiffany Haddish. Shout out to my man CA, because the Ethiopian community has been on, especially the Tigray, on Tiffany Haddish about her troubled politics. And how Tiffany Haddish will go to people who pay her or ingratiate her. But now she is seen, well, that don't work in the long run because I didn't stand on principle. I just stand on the bag. And now that the bag is eroding and you don't have no policies for the people who really got that long money, they keep giving you a bag. They keep paying you to be quiet. They keep paying you to capitulate to the BS. They keep paying you to go along with, oh, it's the gig economy. And it's like, no, I'm not upset about the Uber driver. Because what did the Uber driver do? They stepped on a taxi cab driver.
Yeah.
What did the Uber Eats driver do? They stepped on the delivery person.
They said we gotta call them. We gonna see.
Probably, is it Zobar?
No, I think this is a real person.
Hello?
Hello. Go ahead. While you finish your point, while she
Well, my whole point is that if you're not asking and demanding actual things that you need for life, you're going for the superfluous things. You're going for the things that really don't matter. It doesn't matter how many people are looking at you if you have food. It doesn't matter how many people are paying attention to you if you have shelter. It doesn't matter how many people are giving you that double tap, or how many people are tuning in into you, if you actually have something that can sustain your life as a biological creature. At this moment in time, cats are being wiser. I'm not saying more intelligent. I'm saying wiser by not caring about who pays attention to them, by caring about what sustains them. And for a generation saturated in information, what's going to be highly important and very important is that people start to deem things irrelevant. You can't wash out the information, you can't move away the information, but you can deem this information is irrelevant. This person is irrelevant to me because of this. This is irrelevant to me because of that. And that was one of the main endings to move away from HBO Max into Netflix with the social media, when they talked about the critic will be the one that moves us forward. And people need to be open to critical voices that can articulate why us at the Gilded Sages. Please find us at thegildedsages.com. We continue this conversation on the forums. I'm being serious when I say that, because we need to really be adults and tell the kids what matters, because they can't eat phones, they can't eat likes, they can't eat attention. You need to eat before you give a damn about who is paying attention to you.
Okay. So can you unmute yourself, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what do you have to say, Miss Turner? So I don't think she is actually speaking.
Did you just ask to unmute?
I did. I was asking to unmute. But yeah, man, it's an interesting, it's definitely an interesting situation. Oh, your mic is not working currently. Oh, I see.
Oh, the mic not working in the chat.
All right, so let me see, so that we can get back to the view.
You type what you need in the chat.
Yeah.
With your comment, we can go through that.
And then I'll just put you in a waiting room. Just so for the sake of what you call
Other video.
Yeah. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna move into the last article. And let me see what she put in the chat. Oh, she just put my mic is not working currently.
If your mic not working, just type in the chat and we'll get to your comment.
Sure. And while we're waiting, if anybody watching, like the video, share the video, comment. If you could type your comment into the chat just so we can read it off, or a question if you had it, that'd be helpful. But yeah, while we're waiting, everybody like the video, share the video, comment, definitely head over to thegildedsages.com so we can have these conversations within the forum. Before we move into our last article, which we are going to be talking about, surveillance capitalism, because that kind of ties all of this into, why this is such an issue. And so
I think we'll have to let Ms. Turner go.
Yep. And so the next article is going to be the Harvard Gazette. High Tech is Watching You. And so this is by John Laidler. This is from 2019. In a new book, business school professor Emerita says surveillance capitalism undermines autonomy and democracy. And so let's see. Yeah, in her new book, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, Zuboff offers a disturbing picture of how Silicon Valley and other corporations are mining users' information to predict and shape their behavior. The Gazette recently interviewed Zuboff about her belief that surveillance capitalism, a term she coined in 2014, is undermining personal autonomy and eroding democracy and the ways she says society can fight back. She has a documentary too that talks about this if you want to go check it out. So the question was, what are some of the ways we might not realize that we're losing our autonomy to Facebook, Google, and others? I define surveillance capitalism as the unilateral claiming of private human experience as free raw material for translation into behavioral data. The data are then computed and packaged as prediction products and sold into behavioral futures markets. Business customers with a commercial interest in knowing what we will do now, soon, and later. Question, you warn our very humanity and our ability to function as a democracy is in some ways at risk. The competitive dynamics of surveillance capitalism have created some really powerful economic imperatives that are driving these firms to produce better and better behavioral prediction products. Ultimately, they discovered that this requires not only amassing huge volumes of data, but actually intervening in our behavior. The shift is from monitoring to what the data scientists call actuating. Surveillance capitalists now develop economies of action as they learn to tune, herd, and condition our behavior with subtle and subliminal cues, rewards, and punishment that shut us toward their most profitable outcomes.
Shadow ban.
Mhm.
So, what that means and why that is an issue with everything else that we previously discussed is because I write about the death of a nigga boy behavioral algorithms. This is similar. This is actually the same concept. I came across her concept at a later point, but she articulates it very well in terms that there is a marketplace where people share your behavior sequences, trade that back and forth with other companies for money. And what that does is it allows the companies and politicians to anticipate our behavior, our moods, and from that, they also study times in which you're more susceptible to buy and all of these different variables. And so when you have that attached to the gig economy as well as the attention economy, what you're doing and not understanding what you're doing is you're giving them more information to pivot, advance, and thwart the things that you're trying to do politically.
Yes, absolutely.
And so what happens is, because my solution to undermine that or weaponize it against itself, because when you have algorithms are predetermined sequences. So what we have to do as a group of people and what we have to do as the mass is that we have to anticipate. And this is where you can't continue to give people the benefit of the doubt. And you have to make people show you that if they are in fact good, that they're good. Because what happens is I have to anticipate your malice, because on the other end, you are anticipating my behavior to extract, whether that be money, whether that be emotion, whether that be attention, it's all an extraction. So what we have to do is move in front of that. And to be able to move in front of that, that means to assume the worst, plan for the worst, move as if the worst, but also do not give them more information to create more algorithms from. Because the more information and more content we give them as corporations, the more leverage and access they have into us. She talks about the intimate sequences. And what that means is, like I said, when you're at night and you're browsing or you're scrolling and you click on DSW or you go and look at something and you start to see those things pop up in your Facebook, Instagram feeds, and all of these different things, that is your data being shopped around. When you were talking about, again, you can sell contacts. We both know in the city, you pay for a contact book, depending on who you get, who contact book you get, you may be looking at a quick 8K, 11K, just to get access to contacts.
People don't, but again, in the Beltway, we know how to flip those contacts. In the Beltway, we different. We understand social engineering. I'm talking about those of us in the Beltway that move in the Beltway, not just live in the Beltway. There's a whole lot of people who live off other people's salaries.
And you mentioned social engineering, which I think is an important component, because I think a lot of people, when they hear social engineering, they hear conspiracy. And the issue with that is that you're not taking
a whole
into
training
account.
Course.
But again,
I'm listening.
It gets into this whole thing where people think they're like, oh, we're being manipulated. And we are. You are. And the problem is when you talk about the attention economy and the influencer model is that, and they mentioned this in Fake Famous, it's wired and geared to a classist approach where you're having to show in particular lifestyle to get the actual transaction that you want. So to get the cars, the free rides, the free gifts, you have to perpetuate, or because again, a lot of it is fraudulent, fake like you are this thing that are above regular people to access what is affluence, but not really.
I'm gonna say that's un-American.
Which part?
The part of wanting to be above other people. And why I say it's un-American, I'm not talking about the American behavior, but the American ideal. Because the American ideal is basically putting a lasso around that affluent life and pulling it down for the common person to enjoy. Now we know we got James Madison that said the opulence of the minority, but the American ideal is that you don't have to be exceptional to live a quality life. And that's what I'm hearing from Fake Famous and everything else, is that people believe that I can live a quality life if I'm exceptional, and not understanding that being a citizen in America is what's supposed to make you exceptional, because America is an exceptional nation, the city on a hill. So if we're faking or committing fraud to be quote unquote exceptional, then I question the exceptionalism that people are adopting. I question, what do you call exceptional if you gotta fake it? I question what you believe and what you value if you have to defraud a lot of people just to enjoy a moment.
Okay. And so, Quan, before we get into our last, do we have any comments that from anybody in terms of
I didn't mean to cut you off
the conversation? No, you good, man.
We just have one comment. Sham_Rock23. She says, I think this is a very informative conversation. She's not too familiar with the Zoom on her phone, which was why, she's.
That's cool beans.
Yeah.
We can continue this on the website.
Yeah.
It's cool beans. But no, we thank you for tuning in and watching, because my biggest thing is I just want people to understand how, though people are doing it out of good faith, because I don't think people are bad people who are trying to elevate themselves, because that's what I hear from most people. So I'll take that as, I'll take it for what it is, because I don't think people at this level understand how these things are being weaponized against us, despite, because again, like I said, the 15 minimum wage strike came down because again, it allows you to weaponize labor and wages against people. It allows you to do and maneuver and keep that power consolidated at the top. And the issue with that is as we move down years and years out from this, is an influencer will not have leverage. You can't influence anybody because you're at the beck and call and whim of corporations and companies giving you free stuff. And if you're, and as we all know, politically and in any other company, if you're getting stuff, the expectation is that you, one, do not air out their dirty laundry, and two, that you continue to perpetuate and uphold the tyranny that a lot of corporations participate in. And that's the issue with this. But before we go ahead and finish up, wrap up, Quan, as we always do, what's your take on this whole attention economy, the conversation around surveillance capitalism, the gig economy, and how these things all intertwine, interweave? And I just want to hear what you guys say about the whole thing. I think it's crazy, but what you think, man?
So for me, when in school, you heard about a concept in business, it's called the opportunity cost. So the opportunity cost is the loss of potential gain from other alternatives when the alternative is chosen. So what you see a lot of in just the social media and the influencer market is just people promoting the failure of other people missing out on an opportunity. So it's your failure unless you buy this product because I'm super popular and I'm the one who capitalized on it first. That's the whole market.
So would you say that's the same thing even with stocks?
Huh?
Would you say that's the same thing even with stocks?
Yes, I would completely agree, because what people don't understand about all of these things is that you have to get in on the bottom in the beginning in order for you to really see the game. And the money is being made on the people coming in, putting the money in, and the people on the bottom who have already reaped the benefits, taking the money from the people that are just coming in, not willingly knowing. So you got influencers that are getting these people to buy these products. Sometimes these products don't even work.
This is true.
You got a whole market drop shipping. That's just getting items from China and shipping them to you. You don't know what the quality is. But because an influencer told you was a failure because I got all these followers and I'm using this product and you don't have it and you missed out, now I have to get it because I don't want to be a failure. Nobody wants to be a failure. And that's why it's so dangerous with the children, because you're marketing this to the young people, to the teenagers who already feel like they can't participate. They already feel that. Whereas us, we can all close our eyes and we can go back to a time when none of this shit existed. Mm-hmm. You went the fuck outside and you came back home before the street lights.
You was told to go outside. It's hot as shit out there. It's humid. It's about to storm. Go out and play. I'm tired of y'all in the house.
You know what I'm saying? But they don't have that. Imagine a 14-year-old right now being marketed that you're a failure because you don't have what this influencer that's trying to sell me this thing has. That's all they got. They can't close their eyes and imagine going out, kicking a rock, riding bikes, or
playing dodgeball.
You know what I'm saying? It just don't exist. So that's why this is, in particular, is a bigger conversation that needs to be addressed, because it's an experience loss for a lot of people, because you're leading people into something based upon them not having the experience. And that's why I say this stuff plays on people's human nature and why it needs to be regulated. Because literally you selling an experience that a person never really had the opportunity to get themselves. And you're telling them that they're a failure, or not necessarily telling them, but you're marketing in a way that, hey,
you need this.
You need this. Why? Because I got 1 million fucking followers and you don't.
And it incentivizes, I think, in a lot of ways, people talk about like the bad behavior of the youth. It's like, look, if everything is about getting the most attention and that's the only people who matter, then I don't think it's crazy for a person, a youth to come in and say, I need to be able to do the most craziest shit so that I can get the attention and wield it to my advantage. Because if I don't get the attention, I don't matter.
It costs you 6ix9ine.
Yeah. Why not spend the
A lot of people.
This is our version of greed is good. This is our version of greed is good. Like this may be the first joint to go up.
No, this is compounded on greed is good.
Oh yeah.
It is.
But because I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but the greed is good was also tied to the money. This isn't tied to money. This is really tied to, and I would really say this is really tied to people not having enough self-respect. What's being sold is dignity.
Mm-hmm.
Dignity is the new commodity. If you stand up for yourself, if you stand up for your people, if you stand up for people, you are told, oh shit, you told us the truth. You know what you can do. I'm glad you just got here. You can leave. And people think I'm joking when I say that, but that is very true. In this day and age, if you're not willing to go along with the narrative, Dr. Cornel West shows that. Colin Kaepernick shows that. Mm-hmm. Any woman in business that don't go along with the BS shows that. Any black person, that includes black women, that don't go along with the BS gets shown the door. And it's time for the masses to go like, y'all have eaten enough. You all have enough money that you can't even spend it in your lifetime. The American people, the bread basket of America, from sea to shiny sea, there are poor people in very rich neighborhoods who live on the streets. We need to reprioritize our attention. And I'll do that.
Yeah. And so with that being said, I don't see anybody else in the queue. We don't have no more questions. So we want to let everybody get out. We appreciate everybody for coming out, joining. If you're rewatching this on replay, like the video, make sure you share it. Again, we appreciate everybody for joining in, engaging the conversation. Go to the website, the Gilded Sages. Check that out. Subscribe to the website so that you can get updated when we put stuff on the website, as well as like raffles and stuff that we'll eventually be doing, and then also to engage the forums and the comments and the discussions and the white papers that we have over there that are already up. And just tell us what you think. Like we produce to be critiqued, to have discussion, to have dialogue. So thank you. We look forward to, doing this again and again and again. Again, if you're in DC, check out DC Young Dems as well. If you want to be active in the party, in the community, I'll be doing some other stuff here and there. If you wanted to, shout out your affiliations to, help get that up. I know that always is a thing before we head out. So did you want to?
Nah.
Okay.
Pay me.
Okay. So with that being said, much love to everybody. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day.
When the president does it,
and stay COVID free.